and put them over there. Somebody close the door for me, please.
Yeah. Oh my God. My guy's going to be
All right, e-learners, we're going to do the pledge and then we're going to take our quiz. I'm going to keep the video running this time. Your quiz will be posted, I believe it's at 3 o'clock this afternoon is when it'll appear on Teams. And then you got 24 hours from the time it appears to take your quiz. So make sure you take your quiz. But this will be a boring video because I'm going to let the video continue during the quiz. All right, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Hey, when I said what was on the quiz on Friday, I forgot to mention that it was also on exponents. So a quick, and I will leave this on the board during the quiz, quick review on exponents. Okay. Oh, it's on freeze. Quick review on exponents. All right, here's the review. Exponents are when you have a large number called the base and a small number to the upper right called a power. The first thing I will ask you to do is take an exponential number and simplify it. That means expand and simplify. Tell me what to do. I take the big number, I mean the physical big, not the largest number, the base, and I write it that many times. I'm pointing to the power. So I need to write 5 how many times? And then we simply multiply. The answer is anyone going to get lost on that on a quiz? No, I'm not going to give you 5 to the 20th power, something like that. I might give you the second or the third power. You should be able to handle this. What's the reverse of that, the inverse of that? I will give you a number that's in exponential or in expanded form, like, I'm sorry, one more example. 7 to the second power, what do we write?
7 times.
What do we never do?
7 times 2.
Yeah, we never do 7 times 2. There's 2 exceptions, but we never do 7 times 2. So that's 7 to the second power. That's 7 written twice. Multiply 49. The reverse of that, the inverse of that is, if I give you a number in expanded form, I will ask you to write it in exponential form. Can you see that the only number being repeatedly multiplied here is 6? So I'm going to write 6 to the what power? Is anyone lost on that? Easy or hard? Let's find out. All right, you have 10 minutes from the time that you get this to take your quiz. 10 minutes. There are 11 questions. That's approximately a minute per question. Plenty of time. You can start as soon as you get this. Make sure you put your names on it. Period 1, because I have 2 periods. 7th grade round. Good luck. You drink all that water, Ace, you're going to pee in your pants by 2nd period.
I know, thank you. No, it's for soccer. Yeah.
You have more water than the physical size of a soccer ball. You're welcome. All right, take your quiz, close your mouths. Good luck. Bless you. Now go get some hand sanitizer. Take your best guess. Follow the pattern. Follow the rules. It's an e-learner. Yes. No. Yes. Spelling does not count, even though I should be mean and cruel and make it count. Yes. Let's hold off until the end of the quiz. Yes. Let's just hold off lockers for a while. Quiet. 10 minutes. Oh, we'll wait till the end of the quiz. Okay, 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left, except for you. All right, make sure your names are on those. Pick them all. Jasmine and Noah, only one absent, yes? All right, go ahead and get out your homework. Hey, you guys are like really not prepared. Even though most of you were already in the classroom messing around. So we're not going to our lockers today till the end of class. All right, so if you don't have your homework, just make sure it's in my box by the end of the day. All right, hot lunches, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13. All right, any questions on the homework? Questions on the homework? Nothing? Easy, hard, what? Well, that's why I put the instruction there. And basically, all I want to do is round the number. That's it. Just round them. What? Well, I didn't give you any. Oh, let's take a look. For a second there, I thought I didn't give you anything past 24. Let's check. Let's see. Take the turn. So for instance, number 25 says the following. Repeat exercises 17 through 24 for this number. So I just want you to round the number. That's it. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to just do the evens. So 2 through 32, I'll call out the answers. Where are my answers? Here we go. Number 2, 614 million. Number 4, 600 million. Number 6, 613,573,000. Number 8, 613 million, sorry, 600,000. Number 10, 196 million. Number 12, 200 million. Number 14, 196 million, 38,000. Number 16, 196 million. And finally, to some decimals. Number 18, 216 and 1/10. Number 20, 216 and 9,826. Let's see, tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, hundred thousands. Number 22 is 200. Number 24 is 216 and 983,000, 10,000, sorry. Bless you, hand sanitizer. Number 26, 506 and 69 hundredths. Number 28, 509 and 69,029 tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000, hundred thousands. Number 30 is 500. Number 32, the last one, 509 and 6,903 ten thousandths. Those were long numbers, yes.
On number 26, you said 506.
509 and 69 hundredths. So yes, you were correct. All right. Collect. And everyone else, write down your homework. Oh, today's a fun day.
No.
I'm being slightly sarcastic. All right, he's coming around, grab your homework. Make sure your homework winds up the box. If you left your homework in your locker, make sure by the end of the day, it winds up. I will have that basket here on my desk. Make sure it winds up in the basket.
Woo, we get even.
You know what that means? They're probably kind of hard.
All right, as we do this homework, resist the urge to pull your calculator out and do all the problems with the calculator. Resist the urge. Certainly check your work, but resist the urge to do this with a calculator.
Wait, so this has a lot of.
You will see as soon as we get to it why a calculator would make your life a whole lot easier. What is it on? What is it on? No.
It's on math.
And they're what kind of numbers? And what do they want you to do with those decimal numbers? That's what it's on. Which is why I said pretty simple procedure to do with a calculator. You can certainly use your calculator to check your work, but don't use your calculator to do your work.
Oh, yeah.
All right, here we go.
I can finish this in 5 minutes with my calculator.
So, I am going to claim that I am not going to be the first teacher to ever show you this too. If I am wrong about this, I seriously need to see you for tutoring. I'm going to do this class, not quickly, but I'm going to do this class with that in mind, the fact that I'm not the first person to teach this to you.
You are.
Right? That means that some of the things I'm going to gloss over, maybe say once or twice because we should be familiar with this. If this is not the case, I'm sorry that you had a bad math teacher before, but this class is not in class is not when I'm going to fix that. I will fix that during tutoring, but we are going to just review the procedures for adding and subtracting decimals. Okay, we're only doing this for one day, and then tomorrow we'll guess what we'll do.
Dividing and
Right, you got it. So I choose to spend more time on the multiplying and dividing. I do adding and subtracting. Okay, so the only objective here is to add or subtract decimal numbers. All right, who wants to tell me rules? Who's got them? What's the rules? Who failed miserably with telling me how to read decimals?
Oh, all of us.
All right, so you get to get right and tell me how you add and subtract decimals. How do you do it? You got to talk loud. You got to talk specifics.
It's kind of basically the same rule, but adding to try to think whole numbers.
What's the rule for adding and subtracting whole numbers? I'm with you. I think you're kind of the basic thing. If you can do it, my claim is, if you really truly know how to do it, my claim is you should be able to explain it to someone.
So, we look at the first number to the right.
Yeah, you've already failed. All right, go.
You want to line up the decimal.
Ooh, I want to line up the decimal places. What you're really doing is you're not, now granted, when I show you the steps, I'm going to literally write, line up the decimal places. What I truly mean is you're going to line up the place values. The decimal is just what visually helps you to do that process. But what you're truly doing is you're lining up the hundreds with the hundreds, the tenths with the tenths, the ones with the ones, the tens with the tens, so forth and so on.
So yeah, that's step number 1, line up your decimal place. Step 2, go. No. Step number 2, go.
Then you figure out what operation.
Well, let's just say we're adding.
Okay. Then you
What?
do. But you figure out what operation. You're adding or subtracting.
Well, how do you add or subtract?
I need like 2 decimal numbers and write it down.
Gavin, what do we do after we line up the decimal places?
What we need to do is we need to see if we have any numbers, like if the bottom number and the top number don't correspond and they have the same number, and if not, the number that doesn't have the same amount of
You
numbers.
guys are failing miserably at something that seemingly is an easy thing. How do you add and subtract
We know
numbers,
how to
right?
do it. We know how to do it.
Well, I'm going to say it again. If you truly know how to do something, you should be able to explain it. All right, last one, go.
How
What's
do
the
you-
lining up the decimal places?
We
Then
truly
what?
know how to-
What do you do after you line up the decimal places? That's just another way of saying line up the decimal places.
Yeah,
Now what? What does that mean, add them?
mix them together, like add them, like.
So
Oh my God.
I guess, hopefully I've made it clear that you guys don't know what you're doing.
Why is it orange?
Well, whichever teacher had the copy sheet before me, well, it's not even October yet, so it's certainly not Halloween.
Oh my
yet.
God. Every single store that I've been to has Halloween stuff.
Halloween is like 2 months away,
people.
It's Halloween. Only Hobby has had that Christmas stuff out for like a month. I kinda like it.
All right, back up here and listen. Back up here and listen. E-learners, why we just had a large outburst is because I just handed out not white paper, but orange paper. All right. So clearly, none of you could tell me, I mean, you can't tell your younger sister or brother how to do this because you couldn't do it. Okay? So I'm going to be nice to you and not have you write down the steps. I wrote them for you. Okay. So here is box 1. Read along silently with me. Step number 1, it says, if necessary, stack the numbers. Now I say if necessary, occasionally you'll be given such simple numbers that you can't do them in your head. I'm just going to warn you, even if the numbers are simple, I would say step number 1 is necessary. Stack the numbers. And by stack the numbers, I mean you're lining up the place values. It does say line up the decimal. The decimal is nice because today we are adding and subtracting decimals. The decimal is nice because it allows you to do that process simple. How many people here, I'm raising my hand, sloppy handwriting? Okay, for the sloppy handwriters, I highly encourage you to use graph paper. Why? No. Why would I encourage you to use graph paper? You can put the numbers, one number in every single box, and it keeps things nice and neat and orderly, so that when you stack the numbers, you don't make a silly mistake. They're not going to give you 1.5 plus 1.3. They're going to give you some god-awful decimal number that has 8 digits or maybe 6 digits,
Or like that.
right? You're going to need to stack the numbers neat and orderly. Some of you have perfect handwriting, and God bless you, but I'm not one of them. When I was first learning this, I was forced to use graph paper, and I'm just saying it's a good thing to do. So for those of you with sloppy handwriting, tonight's homework, get some graph paper that was on the packing list or the supply list. Use your graph paper. It says, if necessary, add zeros. That will make more sense once we do an example. It says, drop the decimal, that's the little tiny dot, straight down. Okay? We don't ever, when we're adding or subtracting, ever mess with the decimal. It doesn't move, it doesn't change, it drops straight down. Lastly, not a single one of you said, well, you got to add the numbers from right to left. You are not allowed to add the numbers from left to right. You must go right to left. Okay. Notice what it doesn't say. It doesn't say anything about moving a decimal place. Like you're not going to move it left or right. When we do multiplying or dividing, do you move a decimal place?
Yes.
Heck yes, you do. But for adding, subtracting, now you're like, well, you're moving it, you're dropping it down. Okay, I got you. I agree. But I'm saying we're not going to move the decimal place does not change positions for adding or subtracting. It does for multiplying or dividing. So it doesn't say move the decimal place left or right. Okay, so let's see how this works. I got two numbers. Clearly we're adding because there's a plus symbol, right? It says to stack the numbers. Okay, so which one goes on top, which one goes on bottom? Or does it make a difference? Only for, finish your thought. Well, no, finish your thought. I said it only makes a difference for subtraction. Subtraction, you must subtract them. First number goes on top, second number goes on the bottom. For addition, it doesn't really matter. I will be lazy and always put the first number on top. Occasionally, when you have different, literally if I count the numbers, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When the first number only has one digit and the second one number has 4 digits, it kind of makes more sense to put the one with the most digits on top, right? Because then I won't have to add so many zeros. But you may add these however you want. The first one on top or the first one on the bottom, it's your choice. So I'm going to stack the numbers. When I stack them, think about graph paper. I'm putting one digit in every single box. Okay? When I stack them, I'm going to line up the decimals. See the red decimal? I'm going to line up the second one so visually they're directly above each other. That's what keeps things nice and aligned. If you were using graph paper, the 1 and the 4 would go in one box, the 3 and the 3 would go in a separate box, but they would be lined up perfectly. Can you kind of see why graph paper would make your life a little bit easier? Okay, just for the people that have sloppy handwriting, like me. For people who have perfect handwriting, they well, what's the problem? I don't get it. Because people with sloppy handwriting squeeze the numbers together, and all of a sudden you can't tell which two numbers we're adding. It says step number 2, add zeros. You would need to add zeros if the second number, the one on the bottom, didn't have the same number of place values as the first number. For instance, if we're adding the number 2 to 13.1, then I would need to add a 0 and write 2.0. Okay, so it says add from, drop the decimal straight down. Check out what I do. Straight down. I'm going to put that decimal there right from the start so that when I write my answers, the decimal will be in its right spot. Step number 4, from right to left, not left to right, I'm going to add the numbers. 6 plus 1, 6 plus 1, okay, 3 plus 3, and 4 plus 1, and you are done. All right, now I'm going to show you this a couple times. This is a check step. Using what we learned on Friday, rounding, 13.1 is close to 43.6 is close to
44.
And if I add, right, an estimation check, 13 plus 44, what's 13 and 44? 57. Did we get a number that's close to 57? We certainly did. I'm not claiming you must do this, but you can, right? It's just a check step. Make sense? Right. Anybody want to admit that they're really weak at this skill? Nobody? All right. I highly encourage you to use graph paper. Check it out. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 digits and 1, 2, 3. This is one of the ones we're going to have to add some zeros. Okay? When the number of digits in the first number don't match the number of digits in the second number, this is the one where you kind of add zeros. It's not a requirement to add zeros, by the way. I add zeros. I think it makes your life easier. It keeps things nice and neat and orderly. So we put the first number on top because I'm lazy, right, or efficient. And I put the second number on bottom. Notice I need to add a 0, right? So it says, if necessary, add a 0. I'm going to add a 0. I add a 0 because it keeps things nice, neat, and orderly. All right, we add from left to right, yes? Last year, I literally had 2 students. First time in 10 years, this is my 11th year of teaching, that I had some students say, sure, you can add the numbers from left to right. I'm like, well, what? Where did you learn that from? We add numbers from right to left. So 0 plus 1. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't drop my decimal. Straight down. Straight down. Straight down. Straight down. 0 plus 1 is 1. 6 plus 8. When you get to a number that's larger than 10, what do we write? The second, the ones place, and we carry one. If we were when eventually we'll get to we add 3 numbers. So if it's 21, then you're carrying a 2. If it's 11, you're carrying a 1. If it's 14, you're carrying a 1, so forth and so on. Does anyone not understand the concept of carrying? Remember what I said I'm not the first teacher to teach you this, so we're going to cover some things quickly. I'm brushing over this idea of carrying like we all understand it, but that better be true. If you're like, what is he talking about, this carrying thing? I need to see you for tutoring. All right, I'm going to assume we all know how to carry. Carrying is what? Clean or messy?
Clean.
It is very messy because people start putting slashes through numbers and there's small numbers. It can get really messy. If you're like me and have horrible handwriting, be very careful when you carry. 8 plus 6 is 14. I write a 14, and above that second 8, I put a 1. That's my carry. That's what I'm really. 8 plus 6 was 14. So here's my 14. The 1 plus the 4, digit-wise, is 14. Now, I don't know how you learn, but I always immediately add the carry. Does anybody wait to the end? I mean, it's fine. You can wait to the end.
I just add the carry it over and then.
Yeah, I've had some people say, no, I do 8 plus 3 and then add 1. That'll work, right? Whatever is your system, stick to that. I add it, otherwise I'll forget it. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 3 is, so I'm going to write a and carry another 1. We're good on the, see what I mean by carrying is confusing now? And I got lots of little tiny numbers floating around.
Yeah.
As long as you understand what you're doing, right, you should be okay. 1 plus 3 is,
4.
plus another 1 is, so I got 52 and 41 hundredths. If I were doing estimation, I would round that to
37.
and round that to,
14.
what's 37 plus 14? 37, 14 is 50, 51. Is that close to 52? Typically, when you do this check step, you will be way off than what your answer is, and that's how you know you made a mistake. Right? You're like, wait a minute, 51 is not close to 52. In a rounding sense, it is. All right, who's lost? No one? I better speed things up and let's do one. Yes. I was rounding 36.81 to the nearest ones place. No, this is just an estimation. This is not the answer, right? 51 is not the answer. 52.41 or 52 and 41 hundredths is the answer. But the book would say, hey, estimate whether or not you got the answer correctly. Well, we just did.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm sorry, what?
It says 38.
Oh, that. Oh, clearly that's a mistake.
Yeah, I was about to say.
These are not the droids you're looking for. All right. Nice one. All right. You made my slides much nicer for next year.
Really?
Technically, I didn't make a math mistake here because I added correctly, but clearly I made a formatting error. All right. So let's do one together. So here is your other, I don't know, example of what could happen when you don't have the same number of digits. Check it out. 3 digits, 4 digits. So I'm adding 3 digits to 4 digits. Once again, you line up your decimal places. When I line up the decimal places, we can see that we're missing a number right here, right? So we add a 0. Am I talking too fast or we got this? Am I talking too slow?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I got about half and half, so I'll
No, it's
continue.
not half and half. It's
Okay, so I added my zeros. I'm going to drop the decimal place straight down and add 4 plus 0,
4. No, sorry.
1 plus 7,
8.
2 plus 6, 8, and 5. Oh, lots of 8s today. And no, I'm not going to round this one. We will continue. We good? All right, this was box dos, box number 2. All right, all by yourself, do box number 3. Go. Be careful. I'm trying to trick you here. Be careful. I am trying to trick you here.
oh, I see.
Malachi, are you done? Okay.
How many do we have to do?
1 through
Uh,
30 even.
So what's 15, 16 of them?
Now you have to do page 75.
Malachi, are you an expert on decimal long division?
Yes.
Okay, good. And this will be a good year that I don't have anyone show up for tutoring because everybody understands decimal long division. Usually that's the one that kicks everyone's butt. Like, oh, I can add decimal long division because of the guess and check nature of it. I don't know, I gotta take a guess. How many times does 23 go into 446?
7.
Well, I gotta guess there.
7.
It's twice.
If you give me a really good big
Really?
decimal long division
Well,
number, I can do
technically-
it. There's just
And by that I mean you have to make your first guess and see if it's correct, and then continue the process.
Well, technically.
We good? Anybody still working? Why was I saying that this one was a tricky one?
Because there's a 0.
there's no one.
The second one doesn't have anything in the ones place. So the first one also has 3 digits. The second one has 4 digits. But if you line up, visually line up the decimal place, you won't line these numbers up incorrectly. Notice I need to add a 0. Now everything's lined up. 2 plus 0 is 2. 8 plus 7 is 15. So 5, carry your 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. How's what?
6.
Because this 0. So some kids will not line it up correctly, right? And then a 6 and what? We're done?
Yes.
Okay. 6 and thousands. Very good. All right. Do these 4 and then we're done with addition. I also see this second one here. Lots of kids make mistake on this. There's plenty of boxes. We still have more to go, but
Box 6 is where I got stuff.
no, we're going to go through the whole thing. We're going to go through the whole thing. And that way, at least in my mind, when you screw this up, I can say, do you remember the class when I taught? You're like, no, you didn't teach that.
Yes.
If I stop right now and say, oh, everybody understands it. So I'm going to go through the whole class.
No.
If I go through the whole class, now when I say, hey, you were adding these, where's your mistake? And then now I can literally say, remember in class when I showed you? Who is still working? First one or second one? I really encourage, that's good technique. I really encourage you just do the homework on graph paper and you don't have to do that, right? You got some in your locker
No,
at home?
I don't have any.
I will give you 1 sheet of paper.
A single sheet.
I have a bunch in my locker. I won't find it. You're supposed to get.
You're supposed to have one of these or a spiral notebook of it. I usually get at least, I don't know, a couple kids who all of a sudden they start doing homework on graph paper and they're like, I kind of like graph paper to do math. And they do all their homework on graph paper, always. And those are usually our future engineers because they see, oh, engineers like to do everything on graph paper. But it's going to say that I just want you to add or subtract. Okay. All right, first one, let's see. We line everything up. We don't need to add any zeros for this one. Drop the decimal place straight down. That gives me a 7, a 5, and a 6. So 65 and 7/10. Yes?
Yeah.
The second one I said you could make a mistake. If you, I occasionally see kids will line the 4 up with the 3. I don't know. They're just used to stacking numbers left to right. However, if you line up the decimal places, you'll see that the 4 goes under the 7, not the 3. We do need to add 1 0, drop the decimal place straight down. This leading 0 that I just added, okay, you know, some people like, oh, that seems ridiculous. Other people like, okay, I'm going to add that 0. If it makes sense to you, do that. If not, you can skip it. The last 0, I would say, put that one in there so you keep things nice and neat and orderly. 0 and 2 is 2, 5 and 0 is 5, 7, 4 is 11, 1 carried my 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, 41 and 52 hundredths. Yes? Okay. Do we want to continue or we got addition?
No, let's just do it.
We have addition. All right.
Wait, no, yeah, let's just do it.
Check your work. Check your work. So this is box number 5. Okay. Good?
Wait, no.
All right, before we move on,
Wait, no. That's wrong.
what's wrong?
Oh, oops. Never mind.
Well, Ace is wrong. So if Ace can make a mistake on addition, subtraction, could you make a mistake?
No. No.
Sorry.
Right.
We're all smarter than Ace.
It was all
All
by
right,
one.
before we move on, now I need everyone to stop and look with the board, listen and think. Before we move on, what if I had 3 numbers?
Oh, that'll be ugly.
Could we stack 3 numbers, yes or no?
Easily.
Could we subtract 3 numbers?
Yes.
Well, no, you'd have to subtract 2 and subtract.
So addition is the only one that you are allowed to stack. I don't care if there's 20 numbers. You can stack 20 numbers. You can't do this with subtraction. We can with addition, and the reason why is addition is commutative, right? We cannot stack when we're doing subtraction if there's more than 2 numbers. There's 3 numbers, then you got to go left to right. For subtraction or a combination of addition subtraction, you must go left to right. But if all we have is addition, yep, you can stack these to your heart's content. So this is only for addition that you're allowed to stack the numbers. Okay. All right, so we stack the numbers. We are lining up decimal places, and then, oh boy, does this have a lot of carrying, right? When you're doing 3 numbers or 4 numbers. So be careful when you're stacking 3 numbers. Yes. Okay, so she's going to do it in what's called an iterative process. She's going to do it step by step by step.
And then after I get those 2 numbers,
That'll work.
and then I just have
But I will say that you are allowed to stack all 3 and do them in one shot. But add the first 2, and then the result of that, add the 3rd one. Absolutely, you can do that. All right. Notice I'm not carrying 1s now. I'm carrying 2s. Why? Well, that's what happens when you add 3 numbers. Occasionally, you get over 20. All right. Box number 6. Do you want me to walk you through it, or you want to try it yourself? All right. Well, let me catch up with you. Check your work. Check your work. So we are allowed, if we have 3 numbers and we're adding them, you stack them. So I stacked the 1. I'm lining up the decimal places. Notice they didn't all line up perfectly. So I need to add some zeros here. I need to add some zeros. I dropped the decimal. Notice this one I chose not to add a 0 on this one. This is kind of more me, how I like to do it. If you want to add that extra 0, by all means, go for it. 9 plus a whole bunch of zeros is 9. 2 plus 5 is 7, plus another 7 is 14. Carry your 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 8 is 11, plus 6 is 17. 7 carry another 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. Plus 1 is 5. I got 57 4900ths. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You can only stack numbers if you're adding. Or stack 3 or more numbers if you're adding. If you're subtracting, you can't do this. If you have a combination of addition and subtraction, you must use PEMDAS. If all you have is subtraction, you must do PEMDAS. But if all you're doing is adding, then you can stack them. All right, we're done, right?
No.
Well, according to this math cat, we are not done. What are we missing?
The answer.
Subtraction.
We are missing subtraction. So let's do subtraction.
The answer to 1.
All right. Notice what's different in the steps. Yes.
It says always.
You must always, when you're doing subtraction, the first number must go on top, always. Secondly, it does say you're subtracting right to left, not adding.
And you're borrowing.
But
Just kidding.
you could be borrowing. I don't have that as one of my steps, but that's the process of subtraction is borrowing, the opposite of carrying, right? Okay, so please don't assume that you can subtract in any order. You can't. The first number must go on top. The second number must go on bottom. We're lining up decimal places. Adding zeros if necessary. Dropping down the decimal. Notice, dropping down the decimal. So that part is the same. Now we are subtracting. All right. I will insult your intelligence. Do we know how to borrow?
No.
Yes.
Borrowing is absolutely messy because it requires a slash. It requires changing a number from a single digit to a double digit. When you borrow, one of the numbers now becomes double digit. Occasionally I will, even in 7th grade, get kids who are like, I don't get this borrowing thing. If that's your thing, don't panic. Just ask for a tutoring session. I can teach this to you. But I'm going to assume that we all know how to borrow, yes?
Yes.
All right, we'll see. Can you take 3 from 0? No, so I got to borrow. I borrow from the next place value over. And if that's a 0, I go to the next one. If that's a 0, I go to the next one. If they're all zeros, so then we're in negative land, and we'll save that for another lesson. In this case, I can borrow from the 1, but I'm not really borrowing 1. The 4 is in the tens place, so I'm really borrowing 10. That's why that 0, when I'm borrowing, right, becomes a 10, not a 0 plus 1. It's not like carrying. Now I can subtract. 3 from 10 is 7. 9 from 3. Oh, I can't borrow 9 from 3. So I do this whole process again. See how messy this gets? I got to borrow from the 9's place, except it's 900. So I'm really borrowing 100, right? In more general terms, we just consider it one decimal place or one place value over. So this 9 now becomes a 8. Oh, it's getting messy, but this 3 now becomes a
13.
It really becomes a 130, right? Can you wrap your head around that? I mean, that's the math behind it. But yeah, let's just think about it as 13, because it hurts our brains to think about it as 130. Oh, now we can subtract 13 minus 9, or 9 from 13 leaves a 4. Can we subtract 6 from 8? The answer is yes. That's a 2. We're continuing. 7 from 3 we can't do. So I got to borrow 1 from the tens place. So that becomes a 0, and the 3 becomes a 3. Oh, my word, look at all that mess. Now, mine is nice and neat because I'm doing it in PowerPoint. You, right, especially those of us that have horrible handwriting or poor handwriting, this becomes a big hot mess. When all of you do that, especially this one, with that much borrowing, please be careful. Once again, I'll make a final plug for you. Use some graph paper. Use graph paper, right? It will keep everything nice, neat, and orderly. 7 from 13 is a 6, and we're done. Okay. Once again, we could do some rounding. That number is close to,
14.
and that number is close to,
8.
what's 14 minus 8? 14 minus 8? 6. And we got a number that's awfully close to 6. So that was good. Oh boy, will this be messy. This will definitely be messy. So be careful. Be careful. Let's do one. All right, box 8. Here we go. I can subtract this in any order I want. Yes?
No.
No. The first one must go on top. The second one, lining up decimal place, goes on the bottom. Add zeros if necessary. Drop your decimal straight down. I'm not moving the decimal place left or right at all for adding, subtracting. Can you take 9 from 2? We need to borrow from the next column over to the left. That would be the 10th or the 10th place. So we borrow one of those. That becomes a 6, and the 2 becomes a 12. I can take 9 from 12. That's a 3. I can take 2 from 6. That's a 4. I can take 0 from 6. That's a 6, and 0 from 1 is a 1. I got 16 and 43/100. Yes? Am I going too fast? All right. Boy, we better get these right tonight for homework. All right, let's do one together, box 9. First one must go on top. Second one must go on bottom, lining up decimal places. Add zeros if necessary. Drop your decimal place straight down. Subtract. 5 from 3 can't do. This is the one that causes problems. Check it out. I can't borrow from the 10th place. I can't borrow from the 1st place. I got to go all the way over to the 10's place. This 2 now becomes a 1. And this is where you'll typically make a mistake. What does the 1's place now become?
9.
A 9. What does the 10th place become?
A 9.
And 100th place now becomes a 13. Yes, I know how to borrow, or no, what in the world just happened? Okay? If this doesn't make any sense to you, then you don't know how to borrow. For those of you that know how to borrow, like, wait, what is he making a big deal about this? I've been doing this for 4 years, right? Okay, that's fine. But for those of you that this didn't make sense to, see me for tutoring. All right, 5 from 13 leaves an 8. 3 from 9 leaves a 6. 4 from 9 leaves a 5. And 0 from 1, well, that's still 1. So I got 15 and 6800ths. Yes? All right, do these two and maybe we'll call it a day. All right, do these two and we'll call it a day. Since clearly you guys are bored. Yes? Wait till we're done with the class. Yes. Yes, I will show that at the end of class. You can always quietly ask the person left or right what was the homework if they copied it down.
Page 79.
Ace, you're not to his left or right immediately.
Wait, who said that? I thought it was Gavin. Yeah, right. Oh,
If I would ask Elijah.
We good? All right, let's take a look at this. The first one. First one goes on top, second one goes bottom. Line up decimal places. I don't need to add any zeros here. I can't do 4 from 3, so I need to borrow all the way from the 9. 9 becomes an 8, the 0 becomes a 9, the 3 becomes a 13. 4 from 13 leaves 9. 4 from 9 leaves a 5. 3 from 8 leaves another 5. So 5 and 59 hundredths. Second one, top one goes on top, or first one goes on top, second one goes on the bottom. Line up decimal places. Add zeros if necessary. Drop down the decimal place. 7 from 1 you can't do. Borrow from the other 7 on the top. That becomes a 6, and the 1 becomes an 11. 7 from 11 is 4. 2 from 6 is a 4. 6 from 5 we can't do, so we borrow from the 1. That becomes a 0. The 5 becomes a 15. And 6 from 15 is a 9. 9 and 44 hundredths. Yes? All right. Well, Math Cat is not happy with us. Did we forget something?
Someone saying that from math.
No, we actually didn't forget it. That's the whole class. All right. Go to your locker and hurry up because you got people behind you, one person at a time. Everyone else, get started on your homework. There is your homework. Yes. Yes. Are you waving at me or are you raising your hand? What? Yes. They're asking you to add 5 minutes together.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Question in the back. Yes.
So for rounding the decimal, so we rounded the normal number.
It's just going to tell you what place value to round it to. So sometimes you're rounding to hundredths, sometimes you're rounding to the ones place, sometimes you're rounding to tenths, sometimes you're rounding to the tens. Make sure you read it carefully because tens and tenths with a mask on sound exactly alike. Right? However, when it's written, it won't look the same. Who's the next person up? Malachi, go. Hurry up. Make it fast. All right, someone else? No? Yeah? Yeah, we only have 2 minutes left. All right, who wants a piece of graph paper?
Mr. Teacher.
It will be nice and hand out.
His name is Mr. Chuck Air. Yeah, no. Mr. Teacher.
Graph paper, anyone? All right, pack it up.
No.
All right, e-learners, any questions or no? What? That means 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22. So, yes? All right, see you, Josh.